Two stories dropped this week that could permanently change what professional golf looks and feels like, and most fans have not connected the dots yet. One is about a 56-year tradition being erased from the calendar. The other is about the biggest name in breakaway golf sitting in meetings, exploring exit options, while his league fights for survival. These are not separate news items. They are two chapters of the same story, and together, they tell you exactly where professional golf, for the first time in 56 years, the PGA Tour will not be in Hawaii in 2027. That is not a rumor. That is confirmed. Both the Sentry at Kapalua's Plantation Course and the Sony Open at Waialae Country Club in Honolulu have been removed from the PGA Tour schedule starting next season. The Tour confirmed the news following early reports from the Associated Press and Sports Business. In a statement, the Tour said, "We are grateful to the Plantation Course at Kapalua Resort, Maui County, and the state of Hawaii for their longtime support of our season-opening PGA Tour event, as well as the fans, partners, and volunteers across Maui who have supported the event throughout the years." The Sentry ran at the Plantation Course from 1999 through 2025. For most of that time, it was the official season opener, a winners-only event where the best players from the previous year gathered on the west end of Maui with wide fairways, no cut, and the Pacific Ocean as a backdrop. The Sony Open dates back to 1965 and have been played continuously at Waialae since 1971. That is not just history. That is a generational tradition. And now both are gone from the main tour. What made Hawaii matter to fans was never just about the golf itself. It was the feeling. January in most of the country means cold, gray, and miserable. Then you turn on the television and there's Kapalua, ocean views, sunshine, players swinging freely without the pressure of a cut. It was the reset button for golf fans every single year. Parker McCacklin noted that people loved escaping into that visual of sun, ocean, and warmth, especially during the winter stretch. That is not a small thing. Television ratings for those events carried a built-in emotional advantage that no inland winter event can replicate. The history attached to these two tournaments runs deep. At Waialae in 1983, Isao Aoki holed out from the fairway for eagle to win, one of the most iconic moments in tournament history. In 2003, Ernie Els became the first player to sweep the Tour's Hawaii events in the same season, winning both Kapalua and Waialae back-to-back. And then there's the final chapter. Hideki Matsuyama won the 2025 edition of the Maui event, breaking the Tour's scoring record relative to par with a score of 35 under, a number so low it may never be matched at that. The last stroke was an 8-foot birdie putt. Nobody knew it at the time, but that putt closed the book on Kapalua as a PGA Tour event. So why is this actually happening? The answer involves multiple layers. The Sentry was canceled in early 2026 due to drought conditions at the Plantation Course, stemming from a water dispute between the Kapalua owner, Japanese billionaire Tadashi, and Maui Land and Pineapple over a century-old water delivery. That legal fight left the grass dying, and the Tour had no choice but to pull the plug on that edition. The Sony Open was in the final year of its sponsorship with no renewal in sight. And behind the scenes, the logistics of running events in Hawaii have always been expensive. Shipping equipment across the Pacific, subsidizing purse increases, and dealing with moderate attendance made the economics increasingly difficult to justify. PGA Tour CEO Brian Rowlap has been open about the direction he wants to take the schedule. His vision is a season that runs from late January through early September, anchored by marquee events at iconic venues, with broadcasts finishing in prime time on the East Coast. Hawaii, in the middle of the Pacific, 2 time zones behind the West Coast, simply does not fit that model. The most likely landing spot for Sentry sponsorship, which runs through 2035, is Torrey Pines in San Diego, where Sentry executives attended this year's event. Meanwhile, the Sony Open is being explored as a potential PGA Tour Champions event, possibly packaged with the Mitsubishi Electric Championship on the Big Island to maintain some version of a Hawaii presence professional calendar. The economic impact of losing these events is not abstract. The Hawaii Lodging and Tourism Association estimates up to $100 million in revenue tied to the events. Tourism dollars, hotel bookings, local jobs, and national broadcast exposure that made millions of mainland viewers think seriously about booking a trip to Maui. Wes Waha pointed out that losing these events is not just about money. It is about visibility, inspiration, and what it means for the next generation of players coming out of Hawaii. That pipeline matters. And without regular tour presence on the island, that visibility shrinks. Stephanie Smith, Sentry's chief marketing and brand officer, said, "We have said from the beginning, we love Maui, and Maui is a Sentry community not unlike our hometown of Stevens Point, Wisconsin. We cherish the friends and partnerships we have formed over the past several years. Our commitment to the island runs deep, and we remain committed to being active." There was no mention of future plans beyond that statement. Now here is where the second story enters, and why these two situations are impossible to separate. While the PGA Tour is dismantling one part of its identity, Bryson DeChambeau sits at the center of a situation that could reshape its future. According to a report from The Athletic and journalist Brody Miller, DeChambeau was holding meetings with multiple organizations during Masters Week to explore his options in case he decides to leave LIV Golf. His current contract with LIV expires at the end of the 2026 season. Reports suggest the new deal he is seeking is worth around $500 million. The timing of those meetings was not accidental. They happened at the exact moment reports surfaced that Saudi Arabia's public investment fund was not including LIV Golf in its 4-year investment strategy. LIV CEO Scott O'Neill responded by writing to staff that the 2026 season would continue as planned, uninterrupted, and at full throttle. LIV sources also pointed to real business. The league says it doubled revenue in 2025 from the previous year and added more than $100 million in the 2026 season for the first 5 events. 10 franchises will be profitable, and ticket sales are up over 130% year over year. But even with those numbers, the reality is clear. The era of limitless guaranteed contracts backed by sovereign wealth is in. That changes everything about the value proposition LIV has offered its players since 2022. LIV Golf Mexico City. DeChambeau was caught on camera complaining about course conditions during the first round. He then withdrew on Sunday, citing a wrist injury. Lee Westwood dismissed the reports of internal chaos, calling them nonsense. Ian Poulter went further, calling the reports an astonishing amount of nonsense. But when two players feel the need to publicly defend the league that strongly, it is hard not to read between. DeChambeau addressed the situation directly in an interview with Flushing at Golf. "We're still working on a potential contract. I haven't given up on that, and I think there will be a solution," he said. "But as of right now, my job is to help make the league work after this. I just feel like I have a responsibility. I put a lot of effort into it, so that's what I'm going to do. We're going to make this work." He was equally direct when asked about younger players on the tour. "It's now our responsibility to take care of these kids that believe in us. That's why I'm really doing it. There's so much value to squeeze out of this whole thing for golf." And as for the PGA Tour, the return pathway is complicated. Brooks Koepka came back in January under the returning member program, which required him to forfeit player equity shares for 5 years, opt out of the $100 million FedEx Cup bonus program in 2026, and make a $5 million donation to charity. That program's deadline expired February 2nd, 2026, and DeChambeau, Jon Rahm, and Cameron Smith all missed it. Patrick Reed is using the past champion reinstatement category and is not eligible to compete until August 2026. That is the current available pathway for DeChambeau if LIV folds. Rolap, speaking on the Pat McAfee show, said, "We'll react when we have an opportunity to react, but right now, we're focused on making the PGA Tour better. I'm interested in whatever makes the PGA Tour better. That has no limit. That is not a closed door. It is a door left slightly open, with the tour watching and waiting." Taken together, these two stories reveal a tour in active transformation, shedding a 56-year tradition in Hawaii while quietly preparing for the possibility of welcoming back the sport's biggest effector. Rolap's broader vision calls for roughly 21 to 26 tournaments on an elevated track, fewer total events, bigger markets, and higher purses for the best players. Whether that vision delivers the cultural weight that Hawaii carried for over 5 decades, that is the real question professional golf now has to answer.